So that's good. All right. Hello. Hello. I'm just waiting to pull this up here. Let's start this. Yeah. Okay. Got it. I want video though. Where am I at here? No. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Hello. Let's see if I can pull this open here. Okay, I got this. I got this. All right, welcome to, hold on, sorry. Let me just put this. It's like every time I do this, I always mess it up, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Okay, welcome to Tofu Marsala. So what I'm doing today, now I went back and forth on how I was going to do this. I'm just going to prep a few different things. So we're going to make our Marsala from scratch today. We're going to make essentially some tofu cutlets. So that's going to be the first thing we do. And then we are going to make a salad. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. Okay. So now that we got that all together, hold on here. Maybe I could close this. Can I close this and stay in the video? Okay. Good. We're here. All right. So, and what's going on? What's going on, Bastion? Now I can see I go back and forth. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to marinate our tofu. So I got a big bowl here. It's a very shiny light. Wow, that's bright. First thing we're going to do, cut these pretty much into cutlets. Now this is a super firm, extra firm tofu. I'm going to cut it into thick enough blocks that I think we'll get a good, and that we can get good coating on here. And since this is going to take the longest, we're really going to prep this first. So like, again, when I get into the kitchen, I just said this on Instagram kind of before I hopped on here. Oh, no, actually, I don't want to do that. I want to make my marinade first. So I'm just going to leave this all out. I'm just going to slice it. And I have my baking tray. You can see that kind of on the other side. But fairly thin, but enough where I think it's going to hold. So we're looking kind of like for a chicken-like texture. The first thing we got to do is build some flavor, right? So with that, let's get that. I apologize for the glare. I guess I could shut off the light. Let's see how that looks. That looks a lot better. Okay, so we'll do that for now. So no one's going blinded by my bowl, getting blinded by my bowl here. So because we're making a chicken marsala, I want to be kind of consistent with my spices. So this is easy. We'll add a little salt. We're going to add, what are we going to add? I got some black pepper. I got this huge bag of black pepper from when we made our first batch of sauces, which I thought was fun. So I'm just going to add a little bit of black pepper. I'll just leave that here because I'm sure I'll use it. I usually go with oregano and thyme. I have more oregano, so I'm just going to use pretty much all of that. Some dried thyme and some garlic powder to get like some meatiness out of this. And this isn't something that I would use something like tamari with, which I usually use to get that umami, meaty type flavor. We're not doing that today. So garlic powder will help, and salt is really what's going to carry us through. Then we just kind of need a little bit more olive oil than that. So I figured that was coming. So with this, oh, I literally just started. This is the first step. So all I'm doing is making essentially the rub that I'm going to put on this tofu before I bake it. And that's going to take the longest here. I'm going to need a little bit more, I think. And since this is going to take the longest, I'm basically starting with this step here. I'm actually going to end up reusing this bowl, so that's fine. So with that, normally I would marinate this for like a couple hours, but I don't have time for that today. So what I'm going to do instead is, as I break things, is I'm basically just going to lay all this out here kind of on my baking tray, and I'm instead just going to use a brush. Now I'm going to reserve this because I'm going to flip these at one point in the oven. And when I do that, I'm going to use the rest of the marinade here. Now I'm going to get really lazy and try to fit this all on one tray. And I definitely will be able to, because what's going to happen is as this bakes, it's going to get even more dehydrated and these are going to shrink. But at the same time, I want to leave enough space so that can happen. So first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to need this cutting board again, so put that over there, is... What's the white stuff again? The white? This? White bread? Oh, this is tofu. So we're basically making tofu cutlets to put on top of the marsala. Now, usually you'll get like chicken or something like that. But obviously we're not doing chicken. So instead, we're going to try to get like a chicken-like texture using a super firm, like extra firm tofu. And we're basically going to get this in the oven first, even before we build our, what do you call it, marsala sauce. Because that's going to be pretty easy, and we're going to do a polenta kind of at the same time and do a salad. So we're doing a lot of things at the same time. But this is the thing that takes the least effort once you get it started. So I'm just going to flip. I'm going to coat each side. Again, in an ideal world, I would probably let this sit, marinate a few hours. But for demonstration purposes, we're doing it live. So normally what I would do is I would take these tofu kind of slices and let it just chill like in here in this bowl for at least an hour. But you could even like prep this like the night before if you really wanted. And just when you're ready to cook it, you take it out and do it. So as soon, and I know I'm kind of in the way of the camera, so I'll try to get out of the way here. But.
And Dr. Vincent, before you put in the oven, are you going to remove what you call the plastic sheet there?
Oh, this?
Yes.
This is parchment paper. So this is just so actually it doesn't stick to my tray.
Okay.
So yeah.
Before you put in the oven,
No.
right?
So I actually when I put things in the oven, I keep it on this. So this actually allows nothing to stick. And I just throw it out when I'm done. So it makes it actually easier for cleanup. Now you'll see sometimes these are white because they're bleached. This is more like brownish. I know the color is a little off based on the lighting here, but yeah. So I'm leaving this on. And it'll also make this easier for me to flip each individual piece when I do it. So I'm gonna pop this in my oven, which is preheated. I believe it's at 425. It should be. It is. Okay. And we're just going to let that go. Now, in the interim, is we're going to start making both polenta and we're going to start making our marsala sauce. So marsala, normally you can saute with some olive oil. I'm not going to do that today. I'm just going to use water. I should have taken out vegetable stock, but I did not. But as with most things, when you're building flavor, I start with garlic and onions. That's my base. I'm just going to add a pinch of salt and a little bit of water.
That's a good question. It is Italian, I believe, in origin. But Marsala, it's actually called Marsala because you're supposed to cook it with something with the Marsala wine. Now, I was actually just talking about this on Instagram. Is every Marsala wine that I've tried at a store is very sweet. Like, and I've seen it. Like they have added sugars in them. And every time I've had Marsala, it's not really a sweet dish. It's more of like it has like acidic notes because there's lemon and wine, obviously. But there isn't really like it's not sweet. But when I've tried using Marsala wines that I found in they're very sweet. And in my opinion, that's not what Marsala is. So what I end up using is a dry white wine, which I'll kind of show you when I get to it here. But first thing we gotta do is cook down this garlic and onions. In the interim, I'm making polenta. So I got some polenta grits. Grits are the same thing. So that's about 1.5 cups. So I'm gonna double that with a mixture of plant milk and water. I'm gonna start with the water because I don't want this to burn. So you could use vegetable stock instead of water. That's totally fine. And polenta is actually very similar to, I would say, if you've ever made like a risotto, it's kind of something you have to constantly monitor and like constantly stir. So we're gonna kind of come back to it pretty much until it's done. So it's not gonna be much we actually do, but there is kind of this. I'm gonna add a little plant milk to make it a little bit creamier. So let me give this a stir. I'm also gonna add a little salt and a little pepper. I have all this ground pepper. The one I'm using right now, I believe, is an almond milk. This one's from 3 Trees. This is one of the better ones. There's no like added oils or garbage in there, which I usually find. I have this huge bag of ground black pepper that I got from when I was making my hot sauces, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I took it. Usually I have a pepper mill, as you guys have seen, but not today. So really, we're just going to kind of bring this to a simmer and constantly stir this. Now, the thing is, this usually gets easier to deal with the longer you cook it. And we're going to bring it to a simmer, so I'm going to crank the heat up here. And once it starts to bubble, I'm just going to kind of lower the heat. Oh, that was quick. And it'll start cooking down. If I need to add more water, I will. Let me clean that up quick. Sometimes things will pop, as it did right there. The one nice thing about having an electric stove is that the cleanup is much easier. That's the only redeeming quality, in my opinion, of an electric stove. But this is going to get messy. I'm going to actually add a little bit more water. I should have a splatter guard, and I don't know where it is. So here we are. So these two are going to cook down. And in the interim, what I'm going to do, kind of as this cooks, and I'm going to turn up the heat here, is I'm going to start building a salad dressing and make a salad. So there's that. So I'm just going to grab some red cabbage because I want to add a little bit of that. I'm going to grab some tahini because that's going to be the base of our salad dressing. What do I need? I need another lemon. Again, for the salad dressing. We're just going to kind of put it together. So these two I can kind of leave for a minute. I'm going to grab a bowl and a fork, and I'll just kind of go over what I'm going to do with this. So as these kind of go, and I'll come back to these, I'm going to just turn up the heat on the polenta a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I always like rolling out my lemons so I get maximum juice. We'll start with that. And now I finally got a citrus juicer. One of the nicest things I got in my what is it? Bridal shower? Bridal shower. That was it. Well, I guess it wasn't my bridal shower, but for the bridal shower, one of these things, just as a simple $10 thing has saved me so much effort already. But I like using lemon a lot as the base of like my salad dressings. I might add a little bit of red wine vinegar too. Not sure. We'll see what how we're doing with flavor here. If I need to grab a spoon, I'm gonna go check on that for a second. So the nice part is we can kind of do all these intermediate steps as the tofu cooks. And in about 15 minutes, maybe, I'll pull it out. I'll make sure, or I'll flip it to make sure it all kind of cooks evenly.
I heard that tofu has a lot of protein inside. Is that true?
Sorry, what'd you say?
I heard tofu has a lot of protein inside.
Yes. Yeah, so tofu is actually a pretty good source of protein, particularly if you're plant-based. The one thing with tofu is because of just kind of how it's cultivated, especially here in the States, you really want to make sure you're getting an organic one. It's one of the most... Here, let me bring this over here because I'm kind of stirring for a minute here. It's one of the most heavily kind of modified crops we have here in the U.S., which is no good. And it's also heavily sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, things that are going to mess up your endocrine system, your hormones. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes out with soy in general, is they tend to blame the soy, but the reality is it's probably all the stuff that people do to soy rather than soy itself. So there's a lot of confusion. That's why you'll see, on the internet or whatever, where people are like, oh, soy is terrible. It's going to, make you grow breasts, which, by the way, is not true. And, all that stuff. It's just not either totally understood or you're just not getting the whole story, because that's what actually is going on there. But yeah, it is good as a protein source, as are most, or all, I should say, beans, legumes, chickpeas, lentils, all things like that. That's why you'll notice, particularly like when I'm cooking, I make it a point to have some sort of bean, lentil, I don't need that yet, chickpea, something like that is going to be featured in whatever I'm cooking, because that's going to be really a consistent source of fiber. A lot of the minerals that actually you don't generally get or you don't see. You see a lot of deficiencies, at least here in the States. A lot of them you're going to find in things like beans, which, no one really eats, at least, in America. So, things like magnesium and potassium and copper and zinc and all those things that we don't tend to not get enough of, just conveniently are in those types of foods. So I always think it's important to keep that kind of in mind.
And tofu has a lot of fiber, right?
Yeah, not as much as some of the other ones, but it is still a very good source. So yes, and the short answer is yes. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add a little salt. I'm going to add some thyme, some oregano, some rosemary. Let me go grab them. And that's going to be the base of our salad dressing. And again, this is going to kind of like bring or carry over some of the flavors that we're going to get in the Marsala itself, which I'm going to have to go back to in a second because I got to add my mushrooms, which I will show. Actually, let's do it now because it looks like it's about that time, and I got to stir this. So we've got good caramelization here, as you can see, on our onions and garlic. So we're going to go in with our mushrooms. I'm going to crank up the heat here because this is going to take a while. It looks like this pan isn't big enough. I promise all these mushrooms are going to fit. Mushrooms are going to reduce by like about half in size. And they're going to release a lot of liquid, but they will cook down. fairly quickly too. Yes. So pretty much, I'm not going to mention it, but everything here is going to be organic. So unless for whatever reason I say otherwise, like that's going to be it. Why is this thing freaking out? My screen is like freaking out. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, so we're going to cook this down. Again, just a little salt to help these mushrooms kind of break down a little bit. And I got a little bit more. I'll get them in. But these are all going to cook down very nicely. And again, we have this polenta. Whoops. That I got to constantly stir here. And I also constantly have to add a little bit of water. Just to prevent everything from sticking. And again, very similar, very reminiscent to making a risotto. That's kind of how I always look at polenta. It's definitely more of a labor of love. Does take some effort, does take some time, but these will cook down. So as I'm going to add a little bit more here. Probably a little more. Because I know this is going to evaporate. And you can already see these mushrooms are reducing in the couple minutes that I've been here. But we're going to let this go for a few minutes even before I add our wine, which is going to take up really a lot of our flavor in our Marsala sauce. So while that goes, we're going to finish trying to build this here if we get some time. So we had some time. We'll get some oregano. I'm going to add a touch of red wine vinegar if I could find it. Yep. And a little salt. And then we have our salad dressing. So I'm going to give that a quick stir. Then, of course, we'll taste it. And then we'll move on to actually making our salad kind of as this all kind of cooks down.
On the green bowl is your salad dressing, right?
So yeah, so this here, wrong way. There we go. Is just our salad dressing. Not bad actually. Well, I'm gonna add I have a little balsamic vinegar. I'm gonna add a little bit of that. Balsamic vinegar is nice, but you gotta get a good one. Like if you don't get a good one, if it's not like thick and rich, I don't even think it's like worth getting. But it will add a little bit of tang and a little bit of sweetness. I kind of like it. I really like it in salad dressing. I really like it to cook. Provided you have a good one. But it is nice to have. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. So that's done. We have a salad dressing. Now we have to build the salad. So, over here, what I need to do is I have all these kind of greens that I've rinsed. I'll just let that kind of chill for a minute. What I do need to do is I need to get this bowl I had. It turns out I ran out of that marinade, which is fine. What I'm going to do is rinse this so I can use this for my salad. So, You know what? If there's like a little oil or salt on the side here, that's actually not too bad for a salad. So I'm not going to be too worried about it. I know what was in here. And what I will do quickly is you can already see all those mushrooms. That took a while. They're cooking down. This polenta is cooking, although slowly, but it is cooking. And you can already see a lot of these mushrooms are giving off a lot of that water. And we want to cook a lot of that water out before we add our wine. Because once they release the water, they'll take in other liquids a bit better. And that's really what we're looking for. So, as that goes, we have our bowl, we have all our lettuce. I'm actually going to slice some cabbage to put in this just to get a little bit of like contrast, different bite. And then I have like a bunch of nuts, so I might throw some in. And that's going to be kind of the salad we serve everything with here. Now, a nice part about this, I bought this cabbage last week, but cabbage will last really long. The thing you have to do is you have to keep the stem on and keep it refrigerated. And basically, I just kind of cut off what I need, kind of as I go. And then I'll put the rest of this back in the fridge. What I do want to do is I want to peel this outer leaf off. I'm just going to give this a rinse, and we can add some to our salad. So this will add, again, a little color, a little crunch. I want to cut it pretty thin so it can kind of permeate. But I love cabbage. I think it's super versatile. It's very cheap. It's really healthy. And I just think, like, as a home cook, if you're looking to save money but you still want leafy green, this is a purple cabbage, obviously, but regular green cabbage, Napa cabbage, most of them are really cheap, relatively speaking. You get a lot for your money, and they last for like ever if you treat them properly. They're not going to go, bad. So to me, I just think like as a home cook, it's like a home run. And again, you could kind of check these mushrooms out. These are really already reducing really, really well here. With, again, I didn't use any oil for this. So just a little bit of water. I'm going to have to actually add a little bit here. And then we're going to go in with our spices, and our wine. And we're going to really infuse some of that flavor in here. Now, one thing I got to do is open a window. Just to get a little bit of air in here. Oh, I also got another lemon. So our mushrooms are almost at the point where we're going to add our wine, and then some thyme and some oregano. And while that happens, we're going to continue to, yeah. So the wine, again, like Marsala in general, gets the name from using Marsala wine. So it's going to add kind of like a hint of like acidity, but it's also going to bring kind of like a meaty flavor. Now, usually Marsala you'll see with, it's usually like a chicken dish. But obviously we're replacing that with tofu today. But the wine gives it kind of like an acidic, but also like meaty kind of flavor. So that's kind of what is kind of like gives the Marsala its signature taste, along with kind of some of those like Mediterranean herbs that we add to it. But we just want to make sure we get all the water out of these mushrooms first, which we are getting very close to. And our tofu is coming along pretty nicely here. I'm going to pull it probably right after we get the wine. We'll flip it, let that finish baking, and then we're going to have everything come together pretty quickly here. Yeah, so I'm going to give this polenta one more stir. I'm going to grab my wine. And I like using a fair bit. So this is a Sauvignon Blanc. Usually, I prefer cooking with Chardonnays, but I couldn't find an organic one, so I went with the Sauvignon Blanc, which is another dry white wine. You definitely want to use a dry wine, excuse me. Drier wines I find much better to cook with. I think you get much more complex flavors. And if I wanted to use a sweet one, I would have just used the crappy Marsala one you get at the store. Now, Sauvignon Blanc is a little bit sweeter than a Chardonnay. Again, my preference is Chardonnay if I could find it, but it just wasn't there when I went to the liquor store. So this is what I went with. I'm going to add some oregano. I'm also going to add some lemon zest to add some of that bitterness that I'm not going to get from not using the Chardonnay. So usually I wouldn't add lemon zest, but today I am because I'm not using the Chardonnay. So I'm trying to replicate that flavor without replacing one of my ingredients. So lemon zest, I'm going to add a little salt. I'm not going to add a ton of salt until I'm ready to cook or ready to season. For the final part of this. But now we kind of want to cook off this wine. So wine usually takes, once you bring it to a simmer, maybe like 3 to 4 minutes for the alcohol to kind of reduce out. And that'll give us enough time to kind of finish cooking these mushrooms and bring all that flavor together. I'm also going to add a little bit of water just to give us a little bit more to kind of cook through. Again, if you have vegetable stock, you can use it. I actually have vegetable stock, but in my infinite wisdom, I did not take it out of the freezer. So I don't have it. So any place that like I'm using water, you could also use vegetable stock. And I would actually prefer it. I just didn't get to it. So, okay. So next, while that's going on, we're going to flip. We kind of take a look at our tofu here. Wow, that's hot. Okay. So it's already actually coming along pretty well. But just for making sure that everything's kind of cooking evenly, we want to give each of these pieces a flip and then put them back in the oven. And it's a little extra work, I know, but it is well worth the effort, in my opinion. Like little things like this is what makes the difference between making like a really like good home meal and a great one. Is like the little extra steps that you go to make sure there's like evenly done cooking and like little things. So like I know I talk about this with Diane all the time. It's like little things, like if you just put like a little extra effort or did like the little kind of side step. It's not really like a full step, but like little things, like the little extra love and care you add. Those are the things that like elevate good to great, in my opinion. And again, just things like flipping to make sure everything's cooked evenly. Because you could just keep this in and not flip it. But you would probably get one side that has a different texture than the other. The flavor, I think, would be fine, but it wouldn't be as uniform and even. And that's always kind of like how I try to look at things. But that's kind of my approach. So this goes in probably, I'd say, another like 10 minutes.
So how many people is the recipe?
Sorry, what happened?
How many people is the recipe?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So tonight there's 3, but I always like making a little bit extra because I end up having it for lunch the next day. So I always kind of go in with the intent to make extra because it's one less thing that I have to cook the next day. That's how I always look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So our polenta's coming along. Our mushrooms are cooking down. Oh, the one thing I didn't do, let me do that now, is we come back over here, is I gotta add this lemon juice. So I'm gonna add lemon to our marsala here. Just kind of straight in. Let me get the other half. And then the last thing is I'm going to cut up some parsley to garnish. And then make our salad. So a lot of moving parts for this one, but it is worth the effort. Okay. So let me get rid of this. Okay. I do have to taste this. I got to see where we're at. Needs a little more time. Again, very similar to that like risotto type approach. Slowly cooking it down. It definitely needs salt, but that's something we'll add at the end. Okay. All right. So we'll stir in this little bit of extra water. Let this continue to cook down as we get closer to the texture we want. We're going to stir in that lemon juice we just added. And I really like the way this is looking. This is going to take a few more minutes to cook down to the texture we want, which is fine. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is grab some parsley that we'll add as a garnish. I'm just going to give this a quick rinse and grab a bowl. Okay, bowl. And then anytime you're chopping herbs, I like giving it a rough chop first. And then I kind of use that kind of like pincer grip to go a little bit finer. I don't mind keeping the stems in, but if you want, you could, not use them if you don't want. And now we have something that we can, garnish with at the end of the day. So we have more green that we can kind of add, and I think it adds a little bit more pop and character and flavor and texture that you're not going to get otherwise. So if you get this out of the way, there's definitely some cleaning I can do, but there's a lot more work that needs to be done here. So I hope you guys are following along and it's all kind of, making sense. Like I do have all the steps and stuff written down. I posted the recipe before, so if you ever want to go back, you can find it. Also, the recording is going to be on the Patreon page, so it's not like you can't see it there. Oh, also, speaking of which, I know there's a YouTube stream of this that I'm not keeping up. Oh, so Bastion, no, this is not an induction cooker. This is an electric stove. Good question, though. Induction's cool. I think it's a cool idea. However, I do have a ceramic pan, which I'm not using today, that I cannot use on an induction burner, which is unfortunate. This is just a regular electric stove. I'm going to put this away. Oh, we can finally build that salad that I've been talking about for the last 10 minutes. Okay. Let me grab some fun things to put in here. Raisins. Pistachios. Do I have walnuts somewhere? I know we'll do pine nuts. Why not? Why not? Do something a little different today. So, add to the salad. We might start mixing it. I'm not sure yet. We'll add some. I have some pistachios. Excuse me. Some pinoli, some pine nuts. I love pine nuts. Even roasting them is even better. But I don't have too much time for that today. So, and some raisins. Again, just some sweetness, a little bit different. We'll mix that up with our salad in a minute. I don't know why this orange is here. I'm going to move that. I'm not using it for this. You can already see how this is coming together. So I'm going to grab a spoon so I could try this. I know that polenta needs salt, but this is just to see how done it is. A little bit more, a couple minutes, but then we can add some flavor. Now this is more key. Let's see where we're at. That's pretty good. Definitely needs a little salt. But I will say that's pretty good. Now again, usually it's going to taste a little bit different because I use a Sauvignon Blanc and not a Chardonnay. Chardonnay is usually my go-to for this. But other than that, it's pretty good. I think adding a little salt. I'm going to do that for both of these. Right? This can definitely use a bit. And this can use a bit. I think we'll get closer to where we need to be. And then it's almost time to serve. So we're almost there. So this is getting down to the texture that we want. Want it to have a little bit of a sauce. I don't like it too runny. So actually this kind of where this is at is pretty good as long as the flavor's there. That's pretty good. All right. So these will be finished in a couple minutes. This marsala, I think, is done, which is good. So I'm going to cut the heat. This is going to stay hot for a minute, so I'll leave this on. Whoa. Oh, and our tofu's coming along. Let's give this polenta one more stir. Then I think after this cooks off, we're going to be there with the polenta, so that's good. Do want to give this a taste here one more time. Good. A little bit more salt. I'm also going to add a little pepper. Where is the pepper? Here. All right. So yeah, a lot of manual effort with this one. This is done, so I'm just going to move it out of the way so nothing else happens. I'm also right back off screen. I'll be right back. What I'm going to do is get my serving tray and then kind of put some of this stuff away. So very quickly, I'm just doing some set dressing changing. Set dressing changing. What's that for English? And just take a peek at my tofu here. Looking pretty good. Another minute's not going to hurt. So what we can do very quickly now is dress the salad. So I try to wait, particularly for like less sturdy greens, till right before I'm going to serve to dress my salad. Reason being, no one wants a soggy, wet salad. That's not fun. That's not good. So to maintain the integrity for as long as possible, you just try to basically hold off until right around the time you're going to serve, which is right about now. So let's give this a stir. Oh no, I lost some leaves. Come back. That's the thing. Here's a pro tip with salad. Always use a bigger bowl than you think you need. Now, this is the biggest bowl I have, so go figure. But always use a bigger bowl. Because for mixing, as you can see, it becomes a mess very quickly. Uh-oh. Oh. At least I could try it and tell you it tastes good. So that's a plus. The next step, is I definitely gotta wipe down my mouth. I don't know what's going on now.
is this is a mess. I might have a bit to clean up. That's always fun. Mouse, come back to me. Where'd you go? Uh-oh. All right. We'll come back to that. So, our polenta coming along, looking good. Make sure the texture is there. I'm going to get a bowl for our plate to serve. I'm also going to have to move you guys back a minute so I can pull out my tofu. Woo! That is hot. You can get a gander of what the final product looks like here. These are going to be delicious. So I'm going to let these cool for a couple minutes as we finish up kind of everything else, which really now is just the polenta. The taste is there, so it just needs about another minute or so to kind of cook down to get to that consistency you want. So this is really up to you. I prefer generally being a little bit thicker, so I'm going to go for another minute. Also going to move my mushrooms. So I can just make some room here. So, oh man, this is heavy. Okay. Okay, 2 down. This is the final ingredient, then everything's good to go. It's going to come down to plating and cleaning. So again, if you've ever made risotto, I'd say polenta is the cornmeal grit version of that, pretty much. That's pretty much the cooking process. Whew. Normally I have a lot more witty things to say in between, but this one was a class where I'm moving around a lot. All right, so this is pretty good. I'm going to take this off heat. Shut that off. Just going to let that kind of sit for a minute. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to pull up. I'm not going to pull up anything because my mouse isn't working. Oh well. All right. So the last thing we're going to do is plate this. In the interim, I'm just going to try to clean a little bit. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys got something you want to either say or bring up, now's the time to do it because we're going to wrap this up in like 5 minutes. As I just kind of rinse and do some cleaning here. I'll deal with it later. If you guys don't know, I am going on an Instagram Live later tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern. I've done some with Dr. Brad Campbell, Danny Parat, the People's Herbalist, and Dr. Ray Nichols. We've done either 4 or 5 Instagram Lives together already. And we're just kind of doing another one. We tend to do it every couple months, and we're about at that time. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope to see you guys there tonight. It should be a lot of fun. Cool. Let's serve, right? Let's do it. So I want to try to do this where this is going to make the most sense here. Okay. Oh man, everything's a mess. Usually I have all this stuff in order. Sorry, I know I'm off camera, but I feel like this was an especially messy one today. I don't know what happened. Who knows? Sometimes you have those days.
Okay. Definitely need the top for this. So, serving this. Usually, if I'm going to go for, I try to go with a little bit more of like a modern, although I have too many things here to make this look like clean and fancy. And this polenta is a little runnier than I want, but honestly, I'm hungry. So we'll try it this way. So what I usually try to do is we'll add a bit of this in the middle as a base. Okay.
Do you use arrowroot powder to thicken things?
Yes, I do. However, I did not do it today. The polenta, I don't think needs it. The Marsala, you can make an argument that for Marsala you can do that, but I cooked it down pretty long today, and I don't know. Every time I make it, I prefer it without it. I've tried it with it. I don't like it as much, but that's just kind of my take on it. However, you can do it with arrowroot. That is like my main thickener that I would use. Look at all those mushrooms. They've just kind of melted down to nothing. That was a lot of mushrooms. We're going to add, where's my spatula? Here. So yes, the short answer is yes, you can do that. We have these kind of tofu cutlets that we put in the oven. These look freaking delicious. And even without marinating these overnight, they actually look, I think, really good. We could serve this with our, this is like the one thing, I will say, plating dishes is one of the things that I tend to struggle with the most. So take it for what you will. I know this polenta is kind of running a little bit further than I wanted, but I've watched a lot of chopped and cooking shows, and this is the thing I never understood why people get dinged for. But the more I cook, I think the more I understand it. Now, usually I would try to get some green on this, and I wouldn't put a salad for presentation purposes, but too bad. Could actually just probably serve it like that, and it'll be fine. And for picture purposes, that would actually probably look a lot better. So we'll go with that, and I'll serve the salad on the side. So there we go. That's tofu marsala, with kind of a creamy polenta, and then we have a salad that I'm going to serve in a separate bowl. There we go. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I have no idea what I'm going to do next month for a demo, but if you guys have any suggestions, I'm open to whatever. We did the beet Wellington, which was a lot of fun. I'm trying to think which other ones we did here. I think we did a tortilla soup and we made chips. I don't know. I'm open to whatever. Next month is February. I'm trying to think.
The first thing that comes to mind was stir fry.
A stir fry could be good. The problem is it would be over in like 10 minutes. Like, there's not much to do unless you go over like making a sauce and stuff like that. Could work. I was thinking maybe something, because I know Valentine's Day is in February. I could think of some kind of Valentine's Day themed like something. I don't know. So I could do it like maybe that week. I don't know. I'll think about it. But be that as it may, thank you for hanging out. I will be back at some point in February for this. And if you have any suggestions, first of all, let me know so I can. I'm not even going to be able to shut this off because I can't find my mouse. What is going on with this? Oh well, I'll figure it out later. Thank you for hanging out. I'll see you guys later. I'm just going to have to shut my laptop and figure this out later. All right. I'll see you guys tonight. Peace.
Thank you.